The currency of real networking is not greed, but generosity.
What is up, champions? Welcome to another episode of Champion Reads, where we talk about best-selling books and their best principles to help you out with your best life. I'm one of your hosts, Coach Willie Blake. I'm here with my other co-host, Mr. Ian Sturmer, and our guest, not really so much guest, because, man, just the awesome guys on every time, the founder of Champion Circle, Mr. John Kovacs Jr. And this show is brought to you by Champion Circle, a professional organization that helps business owners and entrepreneurs to achieve their goal within 90 days. So if you feel like you're behind or feel like that you just show up once and that's it, and that you can't remain consistent, this is the place. So make sure to go visit our website, mychampioncircle.com, and find an event to be able to join an awesome community of champions to help you, again, have your best life. Today, we're jumping into a new book as we go into a new month. We're hitting up the book, Never Eat Alone. And it's going to be by, John, pull it up, Keith Ferrazzi. I hope I said that right. Keith, it's what a powerful book. I remember reading it. I think I didn't even pull it out. How dare I? I know it's on my bookshelf. Usually I listen to audiobooks. This is one of the ones I actually have a paper form of because it's just that good of networking, of like not even just networking of, hey, here's my business card. How are you doing? How you doing? What's your business? Everything. But no, we're talking like in depth of being generous and not greedy, of not keeping score and everything with it. So to start this off, both of you, I think it would be awesome just to share kind of what was a fun networking story for us. Maybe even what was it like? Here, we'll take this route. What was our first networking experience? And then how has networking been able to change your life afterwards? We'll do a little fun and the goodness of it. So either of you two want to start first?
Well, I hope you guys have hours because I could go on and on and on. This is literally the catalyst for why I built Champion Circle in the first place. But I love networking. I love building relationships. I love the just that fun feeling you get as a human, the chemical reactions that both our brain are creating and our body are experiencing when we meet new people that make us excited. Okay, it's fun. I love it. I actually give my networking experience, like my first networking experience, credit to a professional organization that I joined when I was in college. And the college organization was called Public Relations Student Society of America, also known as PRSSA. And it's a mouthful, so you can just call it PRSA. And anyways, it was a really, really well-run organization. They started with personal development and professional growth was their main principles. And in order to elevate these average journalism and communication-based students into the world of PR, it helped us see that, hey, networking isn't just a bunch of checklists, although the checklists are great foundational tools and principles. And then they would have events and conferences and all things around the world to help you really feel like the networking was working. Like you'd put yourself in these rooms where there would be a speaker or there'd be an activity, but all in all, you were meant to connect and build relationships. And it really set the standard, set the tone for my expectations of what the real world was like, because there was a student society, but then there was the Public Relations Society of America, the professional realm outside of college. And the goal was to move us along the path to other public relations organizations so that we could connect at higher levels. And surrounding yourselves with, one, people who are like you and people of the same likeness is one strategy and one technique of networking. But many of us, which I think we'll get into in a little bit, guys, is many of us network to expand our reach outside of our industry or outside of our current area of employment or growth, because we're looking for extra resources. We're looking for that Rolodex per se of contacts. So all in all, I'll pass the mic over to you guys, but my first experience of quote unquote professional networking, very positive. I was raised by an incredible organization who set my expectations so high that led to what I'll talk about later is why I disliked pretty much every networking event I ever went to after, because I had such a high expectations, and no, it wasn't pretentious, and no, it wasn't too high, and no, it wasn't a standard set out of thinking that we're the best and we're the only best and there's only one way to network. It was more on a side of how to build true relationships through trust, integrity, and connection. And I just love it. So I'll kind of set the premise there. But yeah, all in all, networking, great experience for me.
Love that. I was thinking back, what was my first networking? And I've been doing this so long, I had to really dig deep. And since none of you know my full story, you won't know if I'm right or wrong when I say this. But the first one I remember was a group called Go Ramp Up. And this was in the San Francisco East Bay area. And honestly, I can't even remember what company I was working with at the time when I did this. But I learned some really valuable lessons in this group. Because when we went to this group, it was an education focused thing where we'd have these modules we'd go through and discussions about business principles and how to grow our business. And we got discussions going around the group from that. And I've actually carried that through in my networking and the ones that I've helped to develop. That makes such a great way to get to know somebody. And getting to know somebody is what networking is all about. It's great to know what they do. But if you don't know them, it's useless. You just become transactional if you say, okay, I need a realtor, I need a plumber, I need a hot air balloon guy, whatever it is we need. That's transactional. But when you get discussions going and conversations, you find those people that you really like. And this Go Ramp Up was great at doing that. And then it also taught me the failure of networking groups. And this imploded. And basically because we got a couple of groups that came in that were 100% transactional. And everything they said was, you need to sign up with me. Nothing against multi-level marketing. It has its own place. But a couple multi-level marketing groups came into this group and just took it over. And it just became nothing but wanting to recruit people and imploded. It went from relationships and growing and learning and getting to know people to a transactional. And if you'd like to earn more money at home in your spare time, give me a call. Don't call me on that. I don't have any way for you to earn more money at spare time at home. But yeah, networking, that drew a love of networking in me because it just brought a deeper level. And that group has long since disappeared. I even tried to Google it, and the Google doesn't even know what it is. So it was a long time ago. But that's my first networking.
Great stuff. I'm thinking back to mine, and I know what it was. I'm trying to think if there was any other type of networking before that. And there was a little bit, but the actual first networking event I went to, I was actually invited by that guy on my screen. I'm pointing to John. It's a network. Yeah, you. It's a group that was in, I believe, Lehigh, Prosperity Gym. It was my first time, and I was very nervous. I remember going up, and I was at a car dealership, walked inside and walked up the stairs, and lo and behold, this guy named John was there, and all these other people who I had no clue what the heck this whole thing was about. So nervously, just like a little kid, I hid behind John as he introduced me to other people. Then we sat down and we went through. There was like an icebreaker activity that we did where we stand up in a circle in front, and it was like not business related but personal related. Then someone shared their thoughts about like how to network and their expert thing, and then we went into actually sharing why we were there, what we're doing, and like this whole format of it. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And there's so many amazing people here. And as I talked to people, it wasn't the whole like I know now the business card, here it is. Like there were so many genuine relationships to where there are several that I still am in contact with today. And this was like just under a decade ago where it happened. So that was my first networking event. It was like really cool, really awesome. Not what I see a lot nowadays, but it was like we break it down with the personal, then we teach you something, and then we just network and have a good time. I'm like, this is really cool. This is a good format. So there's my first experience.
I have to jump in and just like counter the good experiences, because I want people to know that it's not all sunshine and roses. It's not rainbows everywhere. Like we have run into, as experienced networkers, we've run into some scenarios where they haven't been great. And I take it as a huge compliment when Willie says, his first experience was super positive. And it wasn't even my event. It was one I was advocating for because it was really an important step for me, and where I was heading with, my ideas behind the Amplified Minds movement, as well as Champion Circle and so much more. But we have had our not so great experiences. And, I won't shy away from sharing the names of those organizations, because not every group is bad. Not every scenario was bad, and not every attempt has been a horrible experience. But I think it's important for people to know. But I just want our listeners to know, like, if we accidentally or shared or name drop the organization, it is no offense, nor are we attacking or going after a certain organization and saying they're poor. Remember, this is a podcast where we share our opinions and our own personal experiences. So just take that with a grain of salt and the weight of which it weighs, because it's that. But, I've been to a bunch of groups. From Business Networking International, which is also known as BNI. I've attended as a guest to CEO Space. I've been to a place called Connect Share. All of these are nationally known organizations. And one of the things that they do right is they have a structure and they have a curriculum or a format that really helps you to connect with other people, or pushes you to connect in the hope that you will create referrals. Okay. Because that's what a lot of people think networking is about, is creating referrals. But as I read this awesome book, okay, referability isn't necessarily the goal of networking. The goal of networking should be generosity, because the more we give, the more that we see the benefits of giving, right? And so, let's Zig Ziglar, guys. You can have anything in this world if you help enough people get what they want first. Okay. So I get on my high horse, and I promised I wouldn't. So I'll kind of pass it along. But I have had quite a few experiences, and I'll tell you the worst one. The worst one was at the least expected experience you would have thought. As a motivational speaker, at a aspiring speaker, what's the first place you should go when you want to become a better speaker? It's called the National Speakers Association, NSA. And I go to this renowned group. One of the best chapters in the country. and they had a great speaking lineup. Yes, I was impressed. The keynote speaker, amazing. To this day, I still follow him. I still get all of his and read. He's probably the only person I read his weekly subscription emails. Everyone else I just delete. I'm sorry. You're not important to me. And I love this. I love the experience. But while I was eager to grow, there were quote unquote politics. And when you have politics in an organization, it's hard for people, especially newcomers, to have the magical networking experience. And I just remember, I'll keep it short. I know I'm going over. I'm standing in line to meet the keynote speaker and to introduce myself for the running of an upcoming new speakers event. But there were some people who were entitled to the politics of their prowess and longevity of membership, that some man, a gentleman, turned around while in line, quizzed me a little bit about who I was and how I liked my first time, and asked me about my speaking, and then proceeded to say, well, you're kind of wasting your time because there are many of us who have been in line longer than you have to be able to participate in this upcoming speaking event. And I just was like, okay. I don't think I've ever been so bold, but I told this guy, I said, I appreciate what you're saying. And I was really taken aback by his forwardness. So I responded with forwardness. I'm a mirror. Anything you say bounces off me and sticks to you, kind of a thing. And I said, I appreciate your opinion, sir, but I will be entering this contest. And after a scoff or two, he turns to his buddies and he starts telling them about this experience. And I was like, wow, what a toxic environment. And I knew it was just this guy. One bad egg, right? One rotten egg ruined it for me. I literally decided, you know what? If this is what this organization is about, I'm out. And again, no offense to the NSA, the National Speakers Association. I actually continue to pay my dues and give my respects and participate in National Speakers Association events. So I'm good. We're good. It was a bad event, a bad member, and a bad experience. But it reminded me of why I love networking and what is toxic about networking. And it was people's opinions and people's, I have been here longer than you, therefore I know more than you kind of a approach. But anyways, guys, I don't want to monopolize the time. Jump right on in here. Tell us a little bit about some of your scary experiences.
Well, I'm trying to think of some scary ones, but without just going into one-upping you, which I'm sure I can do. What I love about networking is there's so many people there and so many different networking groups. And I've been to some that I just don't feel right in, and other ones that have just been great. So I'm going to share a slightly different experience. Went to a networking group, and actually it was that first Go Ramp Up group. And there's a lady that I'm still in touch with from there. And we did our introductions, and she, okay, don't stereotype here because I did. Her company was a multi-level marketing vitamin supplements company. And on the trust scale, that's somewhere between used car salesman and I don't know what's below the used car salesman. It wasn't one I wanted to talk to. But she came up and said, hey, let's get a one-on-one. But, okay, I know we're supposed to do one-on-ones. I can do this. So we met up, got talking, and realized we had a ton of things in common. And she became a good friend. And I realized from there that, one, when you go to these groups, you know, we got our 30-second commercials and we judge things, and people might do a horrible job at that. But then we might realize when we take time to get to know them how valuable it is. And we actually both became customers of each other and referred other people to each other. And as I said, now, honestly, we're probably going on 15 years that we've been friends. From somebody that I did not want to talk to, that did not impress me with her commercial. But there was something there. And I think that's the key of networking. You get some people, like John said, that, you know what, that's not going to be somebody you want to talk to. He went in an individual comment that said, no, stay away. This is not going to be beneficial. You're going to find other people that if you open up a little bit to them, you're going to see what they open up to you. And then that benefit flows both in, can be a friendship. It can be through referrals. It can be, the biggest thing with her and myself is we became a sounding board of ideas for each other. Because we went to a networking group, we put ourselves out there a little bit. We were willing to do a little bit out of our comfort zone, and meet with somebody that we normally wouldn't want to talk to. At that point, I was doing life insurance and she was doing vitamins. Nobody wants to talk to either one of those people. Been there. So a lot of it, move away from the toxic people, but make sure you're not being a toxic person as well. The more open you are, the more you're going to build these relationships. And that's really the secret of this book. The bottom line is relationships through going out and meeting people and networking, not looking for a quick sale and a quick transaction. So
that's one thing I loved about being in the business school of college, is because in business school, you don't just think of, I need to get the letter grade and then graduate with this piece of paper that people call a diploma. Like, you actually know that it's really important to network. And I'm glad I learned that at least a year before I graduated, because I got to connect more with my professors and more people in the business school who were just doing stuff. And I remember this one professor who let me speak in his business presentation class years after I graduated. He had a friend who brought me to a BNI group. And I remember at this BNI group, it was my very first time being here. I didn't know the format, but it's all over. So I knew that it had something great going for it. So I went there. First thing I did, I walked in and there were these like 3 people standing right by the door. And they looked up at me and said, "Hey, my name is," and I'm like, "Oh, cool. Let's just jump right into it." And it was just so cool to be able to like talk to all these people. Then after introductions and the meeting started, we all sat down. And for those who have been to a BNI group, they, like John said, they have their structure of how they do things. And one of those things is they go around the entire room and you have about 30 seconds to give kind of like your pitch in a way, but basically who you are and what you do. I remember driving to the BNI group, and this is why it feels like it was like more of a negative experience entirely, just because I messed up. I had such a solid 30-second pitch of just like, "Hey, I'm Willie Blake. I'm a dyslexic coach. I grew up with dyslexia and this is who I help." And like, it was just flawless. And then I got there. They went through the whole structure of the meeting, got to that portion, and they put up this PowerPoint that was like, here is the structure of how you basically give your 30 seconds. And it didn't flow with what I had. So in my head, I was so discombobulated trying to figure out, do I follow what the PowerPoint says? Do I go with the awesome thing I did in the car? And when it came to my turn, I didn't stick with what I said in the car. I tried to follow their format. And man, I messed up so bad. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Willie Blake, founder of WB Coaching, do dyslexic coaching," and then tried to like go back into what I did before, but still following that format. And then just mid-sentence, the 30-second timer went up, and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, and my friend here brought me." And then that was it. And it just felt like it felt like, again, I was just this little kid who didn't have the thing perfect, the unknown factor of how things laid out and everything. Did I have to follow that? Heck no. I could have done whatever I wanted with it. But my new experience with it, I'm like, oh, I got to follow this structure. And I think that's so important, that not just with like well-known groups, but structure is important, but unpolished makes the networking so good. If things are so polished that you just follow a certain dialogue, then it's like, okay, we turn into robots. Here's my business card. What do you do? Which all of us know that if that question's asked, what do you do? It's more of just like, what value can you bring to me? And so that was one of my first experience. Not like it wasn't negative with BNI. It was fully self-impacted. But that was the first experience of it, of going there and just stumbling through the structure of it. And at the end, I'm like, I met one or two decent people, but I think that's it, at least for that group. I don't think I need to go back to it.
Yeah,
so that was one of my experiences with it.
It's interesting if you. I love that you said that and you shared that because, dropping the ego here, right? If I really truly look back on the negative examples that I've had with networking, I can basically take credit for them because it's a personal decision that I made to react emotionally to a structured, no one put me in harm's way. Nobody told me I had to do something or, strong armed me into admitting my business flaws or anything like that. Like everything that happens at these networking meetings is on us. And I love what you said, like raw and the, what the word you used, it was beautiful. It was brilliant.
Unpolished.
Unpolished. Yeah. I love that because it's uncommon. They stress in the beginning of networking phases to have your elevator pitch, which is another term for, pitching your business to somebody who would be interested in hiring, buying, or working with you in the length of an elevator ride, right? And so there's that. Then there's knowing your name and having to use, the right words, and communication is key, like your representation. And then there's the showing up, like representing what your business looks like. If you're not dressed to impress, or if you're overdressed for the occasion, or if you're underdressed, like there's so many little things. One of my favorite things to do, which makes networking so impactful. And by the way, I wanted to add to what Willie and Ian said. Yeah, some of my closest friends have been from networking events. The people that I've built relationships with and the people who continue to show up in my life, networking, not school, not high school, not college, not even just like mutual beneficial organizations like recreational sports or anything, just business and networking. My closest friends. It's amazing. And that's the power of networking. But anyways, to finish my story, I think it's so powerful to recognize the ego in this and say, hey, if you had a negative experience, it's probably because you were thinking internally and you took things personally. And being unpolished is a beautiful way. But my favorite thing to do is that when people do mess up and it's obvious and you see them, is don't shove it under the rug. Don't ignore it. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Instead, bring attention to it and find a way to compliment that person on their bravery, on their strength, on their ability to show up. Those are the starting points of great relationships. I remember a young man showed up at one of our networking meetings and he was sweating when it came to his turn to introduce himself. I could see the beads on his forehead just dripping down. And I was concerned that this young individual was going to literally pass out in front of us. And I position, as an MC does, you position yourself in a safe spot to catch them in case they do pass out or fall without it looking alarming or, weird. And he did. He stumbled through his introduction and yada, 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 and kind of lost track of their thoughts because they were thinking so hard about it. But wrapping the story up, it was really cool to watch them struggle through it. And then afterwards, you just shake their hand and you say, I'm really impressed by you. I'm really impressed that you stood up there and you shared who you are. And I'm really grateful that you're here. And to this day, that individual is still someone that I keep in contact with. It is still somebody that I I feel is like a really good, genuine human being. And I'm happy to have them in my contacts, in my Rolodex. So don't always look at the person who's nervous or having the hard time at the first networking session as incompetent or unprofessional. See them as unpolished, like you said, Willie. I love that word. I'm going to start using that word a little bit more because it really is a powerful tool. And the best way to network, I think, I'm sorry, guys, I keep getting on my my high horse here. So chime in, and I know we're getting to the end of our episode here, but I think the best way to like network is to start off with, there's the eye contact, the handshake, the yada, 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 right? There's all these things that you should do in practice, but other than just genuine human skills, compliments, find ways to find gratitude and appreciation and likeness in other people. And that will take you further in business life and relationships than what you do for a business or what your professional elevator pitch and quota are, right? It's so much more important to be human to human. We shouldn't call it networking. We should call it human to human. Those are just my opinions.
Good opinions for the most part there.
For the most part.
But I'm going to build on that. As we've been talking, it kind of hit me something that there's some polish or techniques and all of these things, but genuineness, I think, is the real key to it. When we're out networking, we're really looking to make a connection with somebody. We shouldn't be looking for transactional. We should be looking for building relationships. And you build relationships. We all know that old saying, you do business with people you know, like, and trust. And if you enter that saying, I want to find some people that I want to get to know some people so I can find some of those people that I like. And that's the first step, is you narrow down who you know to who you like. And some people you like are going to stumble through their words, and they're going to be nervous and shy and all that. And that's who we're attracted to. Some people are going to want somebody be attracted to people who are really polished and smooth and out there with it. Some people like somebody who's an introvert or an extrovert, or, we all like different kinds of people. And if we attend a networking group looking for people that we're going to like, that's who we're going to build relationships with. If we're focused on being polished, then we're probably not focused on being ourselves. And if we're ourselves, other people that are similar to us are going to be attracted to us. And then we're going to get to know those people and build those relationships. So I love stumbling over words. I do jokes in my 30-second presentations. And just to share a short success story, I was doing life insurance, and there was probably 50 of us in the room. I did a couple of jokes in my presentation, and 2 people came up to me at the end and asked to meet with me. And I asked them, why did you ask me when there were like 4 other life insurance agents? And they said, oh, there were? I didn't notice them. Because they focused on the same polished thing rather than let their personality come through. So when you're networking, first and foremost, be genuine. Be yourself, because that's how you're going to meet people like you. Then you can work on your elevator pitch and everything else. But be happy to just be you, because you're going to meet people like you that way.
And that's just where it all comes to, is like, as you're out networking, just be you, be unpolished. Of course, you gotta have your structure, and like that's where experience comes from, right? As you get experience, it's easier to keep the flow of a conversation. You have better questions to be able to ask. But at the very most, just be yourself. People understand your energy, and people understand the care that you put into it, even if it's unpolished. So as you go out and network, and this is the challenge that we're going to leave our listeners for today. 1, find a networking group to go to. This can be a group that has 100 people. This can be a group that has 2 people, but find a group where you can network. And then 2, do your best to remember at least 2 names from that group. And that's it. Everything else can be a bonus. But the next event you go to, remember 2 names from that group. Because as we all know who are sitting right here, is that the most important word to somebody is their name. And so if you can just remember that, you're already halfway there to being a great networker. And with that, wraps up this episode of Champion Reads. If you found inspiration in this episode, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcasting platform, as well as you can go to our website, mychampionscircle.com, where you'll be able to find a link to our socials, link to the podcast, as well as everything else going in the Champion Circle universe. And until next time, continue to be the champion in your life. Continue to be the best version and yourself as you go out and network. And always remember that your next opportunity isn't in your inbox. It's in your contacts. So stop ghosting people. We'll see you on the next episode of Champion Reads.